Welcome back to Popcorn and Beers, where some use tomatoes and others use thumbs. We use the stuff that gets you drunk. And what a missed opportunity by production companies this week was to release an amazing, authentic horror film. But we were able to rely on a Swedish film to take us on home, and I don't think it disappointed anyone. I don't think it's going to be particularly highly rated by me because it's hard for me to rate something like that and kind of abandon my principles. However, I'm not going to say I didn't like it. I really enjoyed it. However, you two really, really, really liked it and were raving about it. Well, Josh was raving about it. Jordan was just like, I like that movie. So, what'd you guys think of our Butter on Top this week, The Conference? Or Josh, what was it called in Swedish?
I think it's La Conferenza. With a hard K. Conference.
Conference.
So, Jordan, why don't you start?
Yeah, shout out to all our Swedish fans. This is for you. I just had super low expectations.
Me too.
I was not excited to watch this, but once, quickly I got into it. For a goofy foreign slasher film, this is very well executed. No pun intended there. It's executed pretty well. Awkward, toxic office culture and like the personality types that occupy it, I guess, are universal. Any country in the world, everybody knows the personalities that occupy small office spaces like this. And it's just funny to see. It's like Office Space meets Scream, basically, is how I would describe this movie.
That's a good description. Were they singing The Wheels on the Bus Go Round and Round at the beginning?
They were. Yeah. There's some really creative kill scenes in this. I wasn't expecting the hammock beer scene. Super creative. I really liked that. There's a really awkward scene. Like, what was the shovel scene? Like, I want you to do the groundbreaking. Yeah. And they're sitting there, him and the boss, like the office brown noser, I guess. And the boss, they're sitting there practicing how he's going to do the first the shovel on the breaking ground of super awkward stuff. It's filled with a lot of that kind of stuff. I died laughing when they're trying to escape on the little raft that they made out of what is it called?
Plastic bottles and
plastic
pallets.
Yeah. And they're trying to escape, and he tricks the girl into giving him the evidence that he's being corrupt, kicks her off the thing, and then like a few feet later it starts to flip over and he just lets out this yelp. It's like, it's so funny.
Yeah.
And like, I don't even think they were that far from the shore. Like, she got kicked off and she just easily swam back, I guess. Yeah. It's like, I really like this movie. I've recommended it to a couple of people already. I'm waiting to hear their feedback, but I imagine it'll be similar to mine. It's a silly movie, and but it's very entertaining. I give it a popcorn and 1.
Popcorn and 1. Josh, what'd you think?
I really like this movie. I didn't necessarily have low expectations, but it was going to be a slasher film. And when is a slasher film great? I think this one was pretty great. The characters were all well thought out and well acted. The dubbing, shout out to the dubbing. Pretty solid, good actors.
Yeah.
But like you said, all the characters just they're universal. And my favorite character was the go-getter A-type personality dude, Jobin or Johan, right?
I had his name written down, Julian or something like that.
Yeah, but he was just climbed the corporate ladder even when no one's watching.
Scheming.
Yeah, I loved him as a character. Regarding him, one of the most creative ways I've seen tripwire being used. Light spoiler there. I liked what needed to be mentioned the most. I loved the transitions. Did you guys notice that? Like, they did a lot of creative ways to change from scene to scene. Mm-hmm. It was really, really well done. Like, I would put it up for an award if transitions were an award you could win. Like, going from the fight scene in the kitchen, and then at the exact same time they're doing obstacle courses for the office politics.
I was going to say, they were doing the zip lining
Yeah, so all that was merged really well. I liked how they did a lot of callbacks, like the zip line, for instance, or the raft.
Yeah.
Things just got called back really well throughout the movie, and so that was satisfying. I thought the plot was cool. The way that they handled the killer was pretty cool. Like it's kind of like,
Yeah.
oh, okay, cool, you know. And the death scenes were great. All the action was great. It was very funny throughout. I thought I loved everything about it. I'm gonna go popcorn and 2, boys.
Okay. And Jordan, what did you give it?
I gave it a 1. Popcorn and 1.
Popping 1. So if you ever wondered what a hot tub blender would look like, a hot tub blender, you get it. You get to see a hot tub blender in the movie. Whatever your mind and imagination makes that, I promise you're wrong. But
yeah.
You're not gonna be right. But I love the idea of a corporate retreat right before you have a huge opening in a building. I love back in my day, guy. He was making me laugh too.
Yeah.
He ended up being my favorite character. Yeah.
Is it mosquito season?
He's funny.
But him along with his sidekick, I called her the screaming old lady. My review.
Yeah.
She would just...
I love that though. She was so great, man.
Is there a cooler weapon than a scythe?
Yeah.
That looks so awesome.
And she that lady had some pipes. She never stopped screaming for a solid 5 minutes. And it was just like, it cuts away from her, comes back to her, and she's still screaming.
Yeah.
I love the other old lady who thought that she figured out who the killer was, only to walk away with a huge headache and just continue walking until the end of the movie.
Ooh, that's the best callback of all.
The movie, it was funny, and it was like Josh said, there's a lot of things that you're just gonna laugh at in this movie, but it's not bad. You're not laughing bad. You're laughing because it's just ridiculous. I think it was, like Josh said, it was well acted. It was shot in such a beautiful area.
Yeah.
It's very pretty. And anything you can think of, I think they thought of. When you think they're gonna get away, they don't. And it's worth the watch for sure. If you're wondering about a horror film to watch on Netflix and you're somebody that doesn't watch enough foreign films, check this one out. I gave it a popcorn, but I gave it a solid popcorn, maybe some caramel corn mixed in there with some mint chocolates. So every once in a while you get some salty chocolate. But it was a solid popcorn. It's definitely entertaining. It's not an insult. It was a fun movie. I really liked it.
With that. I mean, I just love when it's funny. It's funny most of the time on purpose. Like this, it sets it up really well. And when it wants to get real, it gets real, but not for very long. So it just hits you real quick with the peppers of that. I love it.
Yeah, and it gets going right away. You don't have to wait for the movie to get going. The movie gets going right away. There's no exposition. There's no long story. They're not fleshing out anything. But it was fun. It was a fun movie. Another fun movie was our drunk classic. And Jordan, it was your pick. You went with a Christian Bale classic, American Psycho. So how did you feel this time around?
I loved it just as much as ever. It's hard to call this like a straight up horror movie. It's really just, it's at its core, it's about, hyper toxic capitalism.
I think it's a thriller.
Yeah. Except when it really goes, full psycho off the rails.
Yeah.
When he's just straight up on a rampage. That's when you're like, okay, this is, I guess this is like turning into just a full blown horror slasher movie.
Yeah, hate to be a hotel security guard today. Hey.
It's about a guy, Patrick Bateman, who is a corporate, I don't know if he's a CEO or what have you. He's a psycho underneath the surface, but he's puts himself together very well and kind of manages himself to where he it's very inner monologue driven, the whole movie. So hypertoxic capitalism. He kills his coworker, for example, just into his motivations. He kills his coworker because he has a nicer business card than him, and he can get tables at the happening restaurant that he can't get a reservation at. Who happens to be Jared Leto, I believe, is Jared Leto. It plays the guy, a very young version of him.
And that just led me to believe Jared Leto has looked like Jared Leto forever.
Dude, he's a
Yeah, he
vampire.
has less like skin on his face.
Yeah, it was very quickly. I was very quickly like, oh, it's Jared Leto. It took me no time at all. I was like, I forgot Jared Leto was in this.
Yeah. And who isn't Justin Theroux in this as well?
Yes.
Yeah.
That guy's a heartthrob.
But yeah, he just has these little quirks to his character. Like every time before he kills someone, he starts talking about music. Like Phil Collins. It's hip to be cool, but is it cool to be hip or so? Hip to be square?
No,
but
that was
hip.
Huey Lewis in the News.
Okay, well,
square.
And he does his little dance.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's great.
Or when he's like kind of up to something, he's like, I have to go. It's either I have to go pick up some dry cleaning or I have to go return some videotapes. Which really
videotapes.
Yeah, which really
What were you
ages the
doing?
movie.
Probably returning videotapes.
Yeah. Back then, that was an out for anything. You didn't know there was a place you went to. You rented movies. Yeah, you get it.
That's where everyone fell in love with movies.
Yeah. And then he just like throughout the movie, he openly admits to like the things he's doing to people, but everyone is so like up their own butt that they just like they don't listen. They're not listening, or they're just like, he's like, oh, it's like, so what do you do for work? Oh, I'm mostly into murders and executions. And he's like, oh, something's he's like, no, like, and then he flips it to mergers and acquisitions, and just nobody picks up on it.
But that's the thing. That was that inner monologue. I don't think that was being said out loud. I think that's what he was thinking in that moment of the question. Like, this is how I would love to respond if I was allowed to be myself. I would love to just tell you I'm a killer.
I could see that. Yeah. No, he actually does say it, but he's in a loud room. But I could see that being like what they're playing on for sure. There's a quote from this movie that just sticks with you, and the way that Christian Bale delivers it is so crazy. Where it's basically, there's an idea of Patrick Bateman. This is kind of the monotone voice he has. This is an idea of Patrick Bateman, some kind of abstraction, but there is no real me, only an entity, something illusory. And though I can hide my cold gaze, and you can shake my hand and feel flesh gripping yours, and maybe even sense our lifestyles are probably comparable, I am simply not there. It's like, whoa, this dude he's out there. he's a powder keg waiting to blow.
Yeah.
There's the iconic sex worker scene that you've seen in famous clips where he's doing the deed with her and he's like doing weird flexing poses in the mirror. And then ends up chasing her around with a chainsaw.
Or the woman he went to college with.
Yeah.
Oh man.
Oh man. Yeah, that was wow.
That was wild.
Yeah. It doesn't end very cathartically, but it ends appropriate for the theme of this movie. It's not everyone's cup of tea. It's kind of a cerebral type thriller, scary movie, but I think it's just an all-time classic. I give this a popcorn and 3.
Pop and 3. So all throughout the movie, they keep saying, "Do you know who your dad is?" Or "You just got this position because of your dad," or "Everybody just thinks I got this role because of my father." We never actually get to find out who his father is, which I find is an interesting touch in the movie. The director and the casting director managed to assemble the douchiest cast possible, men and women. I don't think it could have gotten more douchey. One of my favorite scenes is his panic after being mistaken for being in love with another man while sleeping with that man's wife. The way that bathroom scene plays out is quite epic. And then him yelling from the balcony where the bathroom is back to him as he's trying to rush out after being mistaken. And his homophobia in being mistaken for being gay.
Oh, yeah.
I thought was funny. He has an unreal obsession with love songs, which borders on the erotic past where I think the love song was meant to go. And it's not his love or obsession with the members that he's about to dismember. It's his love and obsession with himself, as we see later on. And at the very beginning when we hear his routine and his apricot scrubs he puts on his body with light honey.
I can do 1,000 now.
The crunches. Yes.
Yeah.
The business card dick measuring contest was fairly hilarious to me. Ooh, the bowling with Verdana.
Yeah. It's bone.
How it like collapses out of his hands when he's at the end.
Yes. it goes off the rails. At one point, I'm thinking to myself, did he just rent out this entire building? Because she's running, pounding on every door, screaming bloody murder as he chases her with a chainsaw that's fully chained. Just making all the noise in the world. Also, what's that?
Do you think that actually happened?
No, I'm getting to that. So, for me, I gave it a popcorn one because of how off the rails it gets, and we have to decide whether or not it's in his mind. But this is what you get to play with. Money and power equals untouchable, or he's just managing everything that's happening. So it was a popcorn one for me.
Money and power equals untouchable, or it's all in your mind.
Or it's all just in his head. He's just imagining it all.
Yeah, I actually think it's both of those things, bro. I think it's both. I really do. I think the movie, it's my first time seeing it, okay? It's clearly like an extremely unreliable narrator. You don't know what he's actually saying out loud.
Yeah.
You don't know how anyone's actually, like, for instance, the bathroom scene, and in the end when he calls for him, and then Christian whips around like, what? And he's like, call me, right? Even that probably didn't happen. That's just how he felt. Everyone saw him and this other guy. Everyone in the whole place saw him. So, like,
or he's so self-obsessed with his beauty that how could another man not be attracted to him?
That too. Like, there's so much to it. I love the way this character was. I thought this character's crazy. For the reason it's like a decade-spanning, timeless character. There's too much to go into. I'm not going to do the homework project because you can go on YouTube and find 50,000 videos analyzing this. So, I'll try to stay out of that. I do think almost none of it happened, or if it did, it didn't matter. The whole movie, I think, is about like getting away with stuff despite admitting it, despite being caught, despite whatever. Like, he realizes how little he really matters to the general scene and how important it is to stay in power. And like, he's such a liar to himself and everyone that like he repeats whatever he hears. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
He'll say someone said something and he's, oh yeah, I was doing what they were doing yesterday or whatever. He just makes stuff up that he heard, and it's just a lie for no reason sometimes. Probably he barely remembers what actually happened. He's just in a constant state of lying. You know what I mean? Which is, I love the movie. It was crazy, gory. I need to watch it 2 or 3 more times, but not for a little while. I go popcorn and 1, popcorn and 2.
Pop and 2. All right, we go pop 1, 2, 3. Jordan, what were you watching this week?
I'm just gonna spit it out. Jeepers Creepers on AMC on demand. As far as just you take it, how scary it is, it's got a little bit of humor. It's decently made. It's super original. And it's just so relevant still to these days. Little kids will say, you hear small kids like, oh, Jeepers Creepers. Yeah. The highway town in the middle of nowhere, just instant great setting backdrop for something like this. Like, it just takes place in a small strip of highway between 2 towns in a small county in the middle of who knows where. Justin Long is fantastic in this movie. And his sister, him and the girl that plays the sister, they do a great job of pulling off the brother-sister dynamic, the banter, the arguing in the car, the protectiveness, all of it. You really, get that connection. You feel it throughout the movie. I this time watching it, I don't know why. It's an obvious thing, but I don't know why I really picked it up this time and laughed. Was when the psychic lady calls on the phone to warn him, if you hear Jeepers Creepers, it's something bad is coming. and they're like, the church, you've seen the church? He calls it his house of pain. And I immediately started going, burp, 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 burp. Jump around.
You can't get down.
Yeah. I don't know. I pictured the creeper monster in his corpse church playing jump around and just vibing out. It was a silly tangent my brain went off to there. I like how they throw it. They do something that they never do in horror movies. They run him over, and then she throws that thing in reverse twice on him to make sure he's dead. And Justin's like, no, he's good. He's fine. Let's go. Like, no, keep going. This thing is not human. You run that thing over until it's just a mush.
Yep.
Like, keep it coming.
I always wonder why they don't dismember more creatures that come back. Like, we've learned our lesson, right? Like, can we dismember them? I know you're, oh, well, I'm a human being. Yeah, but it's going to kill you. So might as well just, like, chop it up into little pieces. Not a real entity, so I doubt you're going to jail. No one's going to believe you. So just take the head, send it to Egypt. Take the arm, send it to a different country.
Well, it regains its powers by eating. So take its head, and it can't eat. Movie over.
It still has a mouth.
I mean, take the head and put it in a box or something. I don't know. Put a Hannibal Lecter mask on it.
Like that show Santa Clarita Diet?
Yeah. There's a big dramatic exposition in the movie where, like I mentioned, there's a psychic lady that seems to know everything about this thing, but it's never really explained. It provides no clarity to anything about this movie. Mm-hmm. Like I said, it's one of the best. It's in every year in the rotation scary movie, and has a very good sequel that is actually not well rated, but I think the sequel holds up with the first one. It's very good. I give Jeepers Creepers 1 a popcorn N1.
Nice.
Got it.
Next, I watched one of my favorite scary movies. I literally count the days till October. I saved this movie for this to watch this movie. It's not a scary movie. It's a comedy movie. Adam Sandler's Hubie Halloween. I absolutely love this movie. It's not a good movie. It's actually a very bad, terrible movie. But it's just everything you love about Adam Sandler in a fun adult Halloween comedy. It's like an old after school Halloween special. And it just aims to make you feel like a kid again, but not in a patronizing way. Like it's very genuine in just what it's trying to, the feelings and emotions that it's trying to bring to you when you're watching it.
Yeah, it has like Hallmark levels of just warm, good holiday feelings, you know.
Yeah. And there's some stuff that's just a little too on the nose. Just like, okay, come on, it's like, okay. So at times I'll correct that. At times it is a little patronizing, especially just everything with the grandma. She's a bit too much. Her character could have been a little bit better, well written and funnier, but they just looked like they were out there. They had they went into a Halloween store and just bought everything on the shelf. And they're like, let's just go out there and make a movie and have fun.
Yeah.
That's all he does now. That's all he's done since what? Like
Jack and Jill?
No,
he's had some good ones.
He's
been doing this for years.
And he he gets his friends together. Hey, you want to go to Hawaii? Boom, let's make a movie.
Yeah, and he does what is it? Bucky something Child Star.
Bucky Larson.
What is this? This is Knucking Futz with David Spade.
That's a good movie. I like that one.
Yeah, he's got the one with what's the dude, Nick Swardson, where he's a porn star.
Oh yeah.
He just does this stuff all the time. It's just this thing. Grandma's Boy.
Fun.
Yeah.
Shout out Tim Meadows from Hubie Halloween. He was probably my favorite part.
Yeah. A lot of characters, a lot of just different comedians, a lot of recognizable faces, the usual characters, some new faces that you know from different things. A lot of references. I don't think it's like almost in a Napoleon Dynamite way, which I'm not comparing this to Napoleon Dynamite, but you won't find this. I don't think you'll find this movie that funny or good the first time you watch it. It's definitely like the second or third time, and you start to pick up some things that you missed. It gets funnier and funnier to where you're like, you fall in love with this movie. Mm-hmm. It's definitely a popcorn. I'm going to give it a popcorn, but like Fry with our butter on top, it's a popcorn, but it's very good. It's not a diss on it at all.
Yeah, there's just things you have to just accept. It's a reality you have to accept. Like, for some reason, he has this go-go gadget thermos that can do it.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, fine, that's whatever. And then there's this woman, this absolutely gorgeous woman, who likes him just because he's nice.
The mother from Modern Family.
Yeah.
Like, he's a nice guy, so I love him.
Look, she's looking for somebody to be a stepdad. She's got like 3 kids.
Look, the guy probably smells bad. Let's be honest here.
Okay, so yeah, I watched Trick or Treat on, I believe it's on HBO Max or just Max.
What a dumb rebranding.
Yeah. It's an
All right.
odd movie, kind of aimless, kind of predictable. Has some funny moments, some really iconic horror scenes that you may have seen in little clips and whatnot. Some pretty shocking moments. It's not the type of movie that's in your every year rotation of Halloween movies, but it's once in every few years you're like, okay, I kind of forgot this about this movie, and you pick it up and it's like, okay, cool. It's got a really big cult following. You might know this movie with the little guy with the burlap sack on his head, big round head with the little orange jumpsuit. That's the character everyone seems to know from this.
Mhm.
It's really popular for I don't know what reason. It's really irrelevant to the movie. I give it a popcorn. Yeah, next I'm going to just fire off a couple of these quick reviews. I was held captive in a tattoo chair, tattoo parlor this week. Got some work done. And they just had some movies running in the background. So one of the movies they had on was Adam Sandler's Click. Give it a popcorn. It's a just dumb movie. I remember being like, okay, back when this came out, whatever year that was, being like, all right, this movie's all right. But a very sad ending. Popcorn. Hard popcorn for me. Next, I watched Neighbors with Zac Efron and why am I forgetting his name right now? Seth Rogen. Seth Rogen and Rose Byrne.
They have great chemistry.
Burn. This movie's, I really, really like this movie. Just stupid bro, frat humor, funny relationship dynamic humor. Him and Rose Byrne have that chemistry.
Dave Franco in it too?
Dave Franco is in it.
Yeah.
Yep. Ike Barinholtz, if you know who that is. That's a deep cut, but he's in a lot of things. I always love one of my favorite lines from this movie. I don't know why it gets me every time because it goes over people's heads, kind of, where they're making fake calls to try to get this party as big as possible so that the frat gets in trouble.
Yeah.
And they're calling a radio station pretending to be different celebrities. And he goes, "This is Mark Wahlberg. And if you don't come to this party, I'm going to give you a world-class knuckle sandwich." And they just buy that that's Mark Wahlberg. I give this one a popcorn and one.
Pop and one.
Yeah. Last but not least, this was the main thing that I really wanted to get watched. I think I promised you guys last episode that we were going to get a review on this. The Continental on Peacock streaming. It's a limited series. The first and third episodes are really long, like hour and a half plus, and the middle one's about an hour 19. Yeah. So it is a short limited series, but it's not a shorter watch. It's going to take some time out of your day, out of your week to get through this one, but it's good.
VHS tapes.
Yeah, it's good. It doesn't drag or it keeps up a very good intense pace throughout it. It's a John Wick spinoff. You get young Winston, who is the manager of the Continental Hotel, of the American Continental Hotel. You get young Sharon, who is Louis Riddick's RIP. That's his character. You get the young version of him, his kind of origin. It's great casting all around. I think both of the actors that played the young versions of those guys nailed it. And of course, everyone's drunken, abusive anti-Semite Mel Gibson is in this, and he acts in this very well. Mel Gibson is a good actor for all of his faults. It's a great soundtrack throughout this show, for sure. Is something I picked up on.
That's in my notes for episode 3.
Yeah, great soundtrack throughout it, except for one song. There's like this weird song in a really inappropriate spot where it's like making a bunch of chicken noises. The song is literally just like a buck, 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 buck. Like, I'm like, what is this? Is this a real song? Like,
I do not recall that.
Yeah, I swear to God.
Have to try to figure that out.
It's in the first episode. They're walking through the kitchen.
Yeah.
And this is playing for some reason. And I caught it and I was like, this is great, but it's so stupid. I was super in for everything that this show threw at me, except for ridiculous Lord Farquaad guy. The weird Swedish twins or whatever.
Oh, yeah, no, I got you, yeah.
It ended very strongly, I think. Okay. I think we could definitely get a season 2 of this. Okay, it's rumored to be in production, so I give it a popcorn and 2.
I put building the scenery for a universe in episode 2. Lots of world building in episode 2. Whether it be the martial arts family dojo owners in Chinatown, They were building up that whole universe, the universe of the Chinatown section of here. They were building up the universe of the what is it? The table. Is that what it is? Why did it just slip my mind? It's what it's called, right?
The high table. Yeah.
Yeah, they were building up that mythology. They had, of course, how he took over the Continental, but we now have to see how he earned their respect, right? So lots of world building here. I thought the homeless group was cool. The scenes are always going to be good in John Wick. Wherever they're filming, wherever the scenery takes place, it's always going to be fantastic. The telephone booth fight in Theater of Pain, the phone booth fight was amazing. That was great. The phone booth fight was just wicked. It was so good. I did hate the male detective character. Didn't like him at all. Thought he was deplorable. Thought he was a terrible person. Everything he did was awful. I loved it that he got his ass kicked repeatedly by all the women in his life, except for his wife, whom he was having an affair on. Yeah. I also wrote great soundtrack. I got really tired of Mel Gibson and his puns throughout the series. I was like, okay, enough already. Like, the puns are so stupid. I'm teeing off! Okay, yeah, got it. Killed the guy with the golf club. Great joke, Dad. But it got a little old. I thought I would kick it. And then he's kicking somebody like, on the nose. Yeah, exactly. That was my reaction every single time. Because it was like the first one, I chuckled a little bit. Like Jordan, I was like, probably not the best time to star Mel Gibson with everything that's going on in the world. But yeah. But with that, I will say I liked it. The action is really unbeatable. The scenery, like I said earlier, you can't beat it. Jordan, what did you give it?
I gave it a popcorn and 2.
I gave it a popcorn and 2 also. Well acted. I thought the cuts, the editing could have been a little bit better. I felt like some of it jumped a little too much. Kill scenes were great, though. Were great. For me this week, I was watching one documentary. It was the Ringleader, The Case of the Bling Ring. It was about a group of young people about the just last part of the decade of the 2010s, where they were stealing from celebrities like Rachel Bilson, Orlando Bloom, Paris Hilton, Lindsay Lohan. It was a group of kids in Calabasas that were really, for the first time, using social media to rob people. And they stole thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars. But this documentary really focuses on the young lady Rachel, who was really thrown under the bus, made to be the leader by Coppola. What's Francis Ford Coppola's daughter? Sofia Coppola? Is that her name?
Sofia, yeah.
Yeah. So she made the film on this. She had the rights to it. And she really made her out to be the ringleader. She might have been. Obviously, she denies that. She plays dumb throughout the whole thing. Talks about how she was addicted to Xanax and how this led to her freedom, her first time ever taking a Xanax pill. And she has a quote in this where, still to this day, I don't remember if this is how it happened, but I recall taking one Xanax and then I dumped it down the toilet. And never again, I said, would I take a Xanax?
Nobody does that. You take a Xanax and you're having a good day. Like, he never. Nobody
it was. She was the worst. Like, if you watch it, you'll see. Like, it does not. I don't know if she's gonna sue this company or if this is really how she is. It didn't help her case. Like, I was like, wow, you're a spoiled brat. Like, you are a terrible person. You know, I would get FOMO really bad, and I felt like I deserved to have all the stuff that they had. And I was like, you're just awful. Like, you're just, and every single one of the kids is just like, just manipulative and in their own mind. They thought they were the kings of the world and they were doing something, and they were just teenage losers taking drugs that they stole from celebrities' houses, which in my head I was like, how do you claim that on a police report? How do you tell the detective, also they took they took a kilo of cocaine? What? Cocaine. Oh, my cocaine. Yeah. Like, how do you say that? They're delusional. They're entitled. Lots of what's wrong with the world today. I think that they really confirm, unfortunately, because I've never gone with this. I've always said, parents, you're in charge of your kids. Like, how you raise your kids, that's on you. But they kind of confirmed what I've always been afraid of with latchkey kids in this new generation of latchkey kids watching reality TV, where it's like, wow, they they really believe the stuff they see on TV with, you know, the hills and Laguna Beach and Keeping Up with the Car. Like, they believe this. They don't understand that these shows are all heavily edited and that they are scripted. Like, these shows are scripted. It's not reality television, but they're still here because of all of that. I gave it a popcorn and 1. I found it interesting. I don't know. It's hard to watch, guys. I'm going to be honest. It made me sick to my stomach at points. I was like, God, people like you exist. And that is...
Yeah.
Outside of that, I was watching The Wheel of Time. Josh is much better at this than me. I will say this. Season 1, I complained a lot to Josh. I watched the whole thing, but I was like, God, they're such whiny little babies. Like, through the whole season 1, like, oh my God, they're my best friends. I'm going to say them.
My best friend.
Like, it was just, I hate, like, that stuff just bothers me in films. Like, it doesn't have to be like that in every movie. Like, not all, like in Lord of the Rings.
Yeah.
Sam.
Don't
Like,
perpetuate it either. Like, get it over with.
Yeah, get it done. Like, just write it in once so we understand the dynamic and I'm done. But, like, it carried through a lot of the episodes and, like, I can't believe I almost killed my best friend. I grabbed the knife that was hung out. Like, oh my God, it drives me nuts. But luckily for them, Rosamund Pike was there with her, what's that person called that guards her?
The warder?
Like, what? Yeah, man. Those two saved the show for me in the first season because they're badass. Like, they're awesome.
Cool characters. Yeah.
Yeah. And Rosamund Pike, she's an amazing actress. She's so good. Her facial expressions while acting are phenomenal. Like, she nails the moment with her face or her facial expressions. Like, she doesn't even have to talk. She's one of those actresses.
Yeah.
And you feel the moment.
Even not even making an expression. She'll just stare. But you get so much out of just that stare.
Yeah. And I will say this. Season 2, much better. We finally start getting some nitty-gritty. The very end, the finale was great with the action. I got to go all the way back to American Psycho. I had to knock it down a notch, and I'm going to appeal to the court that Jordan loses a point for the death of a dog within American Psycho, and it was a harmless homeless guy's dog.
Yeah.
And then I told Josh he loses a point for not warning me that there would be the death of another dog in this one, and I was like, stop killing dogs. Just trying to make it through the week.
Why is everyone killing dogs? That's going to be the first t-shirt we make. Stop killing the dogs.
Stop killing the dogs. And I will say this. The one in American Psycho was pretty brutal, but the one in Wheel of Time was even worse for me because you physically see it just get hacked. And I was like, oh my gosh, why did that happen? And I was like, I was really mad. But outside of that, we really get the story going. I'm really excited for season 3 because I believe Josh, correct me if I'm wrong, and we're going to go to what you were watching. We're in the war now officially, right? We've officially started the war.
Oh yeah, it's going on, and I couldn't tell you how it's going to go down because in the books everything's so much slower, slower. I think there's parts of this that are already like 3 books ahead. Okay. So I'm not sure how it's going to go down because when the war was announced the way it's being announced, everything was still pretty mellow. Like, there was people still doing plans. It wasn't like all out swords and slinging and magic. Like, that hasn't happened yet. And I'm on like book 7 of 10 or something. It's just like I don't know. It's really interesting though. The world gets wider and wider and more lore. They still do a great job of just portraying everything the way it's supposed to be portrayed. I don't care at all about how loyal they are to the story. Because even though they're playing with the pacing in a huge way, like big time, it's a TV show. And let's take a lesson from Game of Thrones. We probably can't make a whole 6 or 8 seasons. It probably deserved 8, 9 seasons, Game of Thrones. But they ran out of time. They ran out of backing or whatever they did. They ran out of writers, that's for sure. So let's make Wheel of Time like 4 seasons, 5 seasons maybe. It doesn't need to be all 10. That's not going to work. So. Yeah, I'm not against the pacing maneuvers, and I'm loving it. I wasn't super jazzed about where they left the series or the season. I think they could have gone a little further, perhaps. Seems like not even a cliffhanger, like right before the cliffhanger.
Well, you do have the death of one of the guardians of the evil one or whatever he's called.
Yeah, that's true. That's a big one. Yeah, you're right about that.
But I did like the girl, man. The little spiderweb girl. She was dope.
Yes.
Creepy. She was really creepy, but really dope at the same time.
Yeah, I like all the dream maneuvers, and the
Yeah.
magic use was all really good in this. One thing notable from the book is Min, the prophet woman. They gave her a lot more story in this. She's very active, and in the books you see her a few times. So it's cool to see her as a newer, bigger, like a bolder character. It's nice. I like all of it. I like the whole show. So good.
I gave it a pop 2 for season 2.
Same. Yeah.
All right. Right on. So Josh, you were watching a film that starred Nebula. I can't remember her. What's that actress's name? Karen Gillan, the Scottish actress.
Yeah.
She is really good in this, and this is one of the films you were watching, so I'm interested in your review. So if you want to tell us what you were watching this week.
Oh, yeah, dude, I will. And I'll start with that, with Karen Gillan starring in Gunpowder Milkshake. It's a few years old, couple years at least. I'm not sure exactly. But it's in the footsteps of a John Wick. You know, she's the super duper killer, and she works for an agency, and there's something going on, and blah, blah, blah. And the fight scenes are out of control, over the top, ridiculous choreography. Funny, it has a noir kind of element. They play with the scenery and the lighting and everything, similar to maybe like a Bunraku, of the yesteryear, or Dick Tracy or something. They over stylize in a cool way. I like all that. I thought it reminded me a lot of Speed Racer, with the way it was green screen a lot. The fight scenes had good intentions, but they were almost like WWE levels of realism. But it was still entertaining. I like to watch wrestling. It was kind of cutesy. I like the three like witches, weapons experts are also like major heads.
The
in
ladies.
action. Yeah. They're like the killers of old like little homage to them. So that's pretty cool. I heard a Wilhelm scream. Got to note that. Let's put a mixed ticker of that every time we hear a Wilhelm scream. I don't know. I give it a popcorn and 1. It was fun to watch. Didn't really have a lot of substance. It was cotton candy in a good way. I liked it. Yeah,
it was female Rambo, female John Wick. Yeah. Just give you a lot of explosions, lots of guns, lots of MacGyver stuff. Yeah, we're gonna kill some people.
Yeah. Moving on to like a different kind of lighthearted, I watched Joe Pera, Slow and Steady. It's a YouTube comedy special that just dropped. You might know Joe Pera from Adult Swim and the show Joe Pera Talks You to Sleep, or Joe Pera Talks With You. So 2 different shows. He has a very soft voice, and his comedy is very soft and well timed and quiet and wholesome. But he's an alt comedian. That's what he calls himself. I can't really explain what it's like. I really suggest it to everyone. I gave it a popcorn and 2. One of my favorite things. He looks a lot like Dahmer. Okay, so that's the setup for the joke.
Okay.
So he says, I'm not going to do his impression, but this is what he says. It was a difficult few months after the Dahmer show came out on Netflix. Pause. Everyone laughs because he looks like Dahmer. And he says, if I did even half the stuff Jeffrey Dahmer did, my dad would be so pissed. He blamed like the entire state of the world on the fact that years ago, millions of people laughed at William Hung just trying his best on American Idol.
William Hung made so much money off that, though. I know. Remember, there was I had a William Hung T-shirt.
Oh my god.
He has great crowd work. I didn't expect him to do crowd work. He didn't seem like that type of comedian. Like Bo Burnham doesn't really do a lot of crowd work. That sort of thing. He has a shtick, like a personality he puts on. Really reminded me of old Stephen Wright with the one-liners and such. If you know Stephen Wright, he's one of the best. That's about it. I give that a popcorn and 2. And then I'm currently in Colorado. I flew here on the plane. Someone next to me was watching on their laptop Fast 10. So I got to watch it with no sound. I guarantee I know it because everything everyone said.
You could have just lied. You didn't have to say
No,
that.
it's important that I mention that because it does not matter what they're...
it doesn't add anything. Really.
The dialogue doesn't add anything. That is the fact. It was cool to see in the opening scene. They always go somewhere cool. I like to see Florence. That was nice. Jason Momoa is the villain that like kidnaps the woman and ties her to the tracks. Like, it was so embarrassing. The gist of the movie was there, but like I feel like I got the movie. Like, they had something going, and then oops, here's another. I'm John Cena, and who is it? Captain Marvel in a room giving a briefing.
Oh, Brie Larson.
Who are they? Yeah, who are they giving a briefing to? They're just surrounded by all these gigantic screens. It was like a
That's not John Cena. That's the dude that plays Jack Reacher.
Oh yeah, I'm sorry. I wrote. Yeah, you're right. I read the wrong line. It's Jack Reacher.
Close.
Where'd they come from? When you reviewed it, you talked about the CG being trash, and maybe for the big scenes with the big ball and all the crazy cool action scenes up close. Yeah, bad CG perhaps, but the general like crashing of cars and busting through bridges, that kind of thing.
But they didn't use CG for that. Those were practical effects. They actually used practical effects for a lot of those.
Like blowing up bridges,
car explosion.
Florence?
Not the blowing up the bridge, you dick. The crashing the cars, though.
Okay.
Yeah,
I'm with that. Anyway, garbage movie. That's a popcorn. And I watched one, but I'm going to save it because it should be a drunk classic. I'm going to verify whether or not it already has been or reviewed before. I have to get into the annals of the show. You're welcome to watch the annals of the show, too, on the YouTube playlist.
Yeah.
We also have a new butter on top. It's not a foreign film this time, I promise. But it is a fictional retelling of some Americana, right? Some history that happened within America. And, of course, I am speaking of Martin Scorsese's new film, Killers of the Flower Moon, which I'm very excited for. I've been excited for this for a bit. It's got all the Roberts in it. Jesse Plemons is in it. Leonardo DiCaprio is in it. And a host of other great actors and actresses. I'm very excited for this film.
There's at least one anti-vaxxer, so that's great.
I cannot wait to see this movie. And Josh, the drunk classic falls to you, sir.
Oh yeah, In the Mouth of Madness. Yeah, it's a mixed reviews movie. It's an old one. It freaked me out when I was a kid. I'm not sure how it holds up, so we'll see.
In the Mouth of Madness, another film I have not seen.
Nice, dude. That's Carpenter. It's a good one. It was a big time scary when I was young.
So we will watch that this week, and we hope you will watch us this week, where we review everything we were watching from the previous week, the new hit films that come out into the theaters near you, and of course, we bring up a drunk classic that we really want you to be a part of. So please tune in at the Sad Fan Podcast Network, Popcorn and Beers. Jordan, where can they find us on social media?
On X at Popcorn and Beer.
On X at Popcorn and Beer. Thank you guys all so much for tuning in, and we will see you at the movies. You get the popcorn, and we'll get the beer.